My wife always complains. My name is Paul Friedman. I founded the Marriage Foundation, and I'm going to try to help you. I'm not just going to try to help you on the most simplistic level, but I want to take you deeper into marriage so you have something that is going to help you more holistically. Let's begin with a very simple reality. You got married in order to be happier, and you got married in order to experience unconditional love. So did your wife. Now, are you giving those things to your wife? Or are you hindering her experience of your unconditional love? Are you hindering her experience of happiness? You have to take a moment now and look at this from her point of view. How are you treating her? Are you treating her the way you did when you very first started dating? And you would open the car door for her, you would bring her little gifts, your face was always smiling to her. You held her hand, you complimented her, and almost more importantly, there's two sides to communication. One is what you say, and the other is what you don't say. Most of us get married, we start taking our spouse for granted. And instead of always complimenting them, we're criticizing them. And sometimes we even call it constructive criticism, which is nonsense. There's no such thing as constructive criticism. Criticism is criticism. Think about it from your own point of view. Can you be given constructive criticism? No, it's a nonsensical term. I don't even know who came up with it. It's merely an excuse to express your displeasure with somebody else's behavior. So, you got to take a look at your overall marriage to begin with. The overall marriage. Is it happy? Obviously not. If you're saying your wife is always complaining, you got to take a look. First step at whether you're contributing to her unhappiness. You're not responsible for her complaining. I'm not suggesting that. What I am saying is that the very foundation of your marriage is supposed to be on love and happiness. Those are the foundational principles. And it's your job, your half. Forget about her responsibility. You can't do anything about that. But it's your responsibility to create an environment for her because you promised to. Create an environment for her where she feels loved, supported, accepted, and effectively swept off of her feet with your consideration and your love. So many people get married, like most people, like 99%, as if they're getting on a ride at a theme park. They don't realize, because there's no training in this area, that like everything else in life, everything requires maintenance, right? What do you have that doesn't? You have a car, needs to be washed, you got to check the oil, you got to check the brake fluid, etc. Even clothes, they need to be washed or dry cleaned. There's nothing that you have that doesn't require maintenance. Even your tools for maintenance require maintenance. They have to be oiled. Sometimes you got to get rid of any kind of rust with steel wool. Everything in life requires maintenance. And you know what the maintenance is, even if you're behind. What about your marriage? Did you get married thinking, okay, now I got to remember to do this, to do that, blah, blah, blah? No one does. No one does. So the very first step to have a marriage is to understand what the maintenance requirements are. Unfortunately, most of the books out there are useless. I've written 2. The best one is Breaking the Cycle. It lays marriage out in a way where you can see for yourself what the marriage requirements for maintenance are. And you can't go, well, I didn't get married to maintain. Well, you have to be realistic. So the very first step is to evaluate your role. Because you didn't marry her when she was bitchy and complaining. You are part of the problem. You aren't the problem. She could handle it differently. And that brings us to the other part. The other part is where you basically don't take on her complaining. You see, we are souls. We have a mind. We have a body. And the body is an animal body. The animal body is principally guided by one thing: survival. It's all about making sure that we're not being attacked, not being destroyed, and that we're eating, breathing, and procreating. It's really that simplistic. And so this body is telling the mind all the time, be on the lookout for when we're attacked. Well, if you're saying your wife is complaining, what you're saying really is you're experiencing yourself being attacked. Let's make it even more clear. Your mind is experiencing it, and thus you, as being attacked. What does it do when it's attacked? It gets defensive, or it runs away. You have to rise above that. It's that simple. And it's easier to do than you think. You just, again, don't have any training in this area. Now, if your marriage is totally on the skids and sliding towards divorce, then you need to get one of the courses that the Marriage Foundation, we're nonprofit, offers. And then we can help you that way. But if all it is you're tired of your wife complaining all the time, all the information you need will be in Breaking the Cycle. So that's the solution. Can you recall? Number 1, be responsible for what you promised your wife before you got married. That you would be the one who supplies her happiness, to supply her the love that you promised. And don't go, well, what about her? We're not talking about that, right? If you're talking about complaining, the first step is to make sure you're doing your part. Typically, women are much better at giving those things if they're not feeling undermined. So you're in a good position if all you have is this one complaint, because now you're complaining about her complaining. You're in a great position to completely turn your marriage around. Let me assure you, marriages, when they're functioning properly, and which is on you alone, you might say, they produce unbelievable happiness, which is ever increasing every single day. They produce an amazing opportunity to experience unconditional love. But you have to know how to do it. I'm not going to share that with you. It took a book to create all that you need. So I'm not going to share that with you in the video, but I'm trying to give you a sense of what power you have to turn everything around. And we've been doing this for decades, so we know not only is it possible, but it works like mathematics. Now, hopefully this has been useful and helpful. And so you could like the video, you could put in a comment, you could subscribe to more of these videos. You could write to us. We have counselors, free service, so you could write in. But by all means, get hold of Breaking the Cycle. There's also a thinner book called Lessons for a Happy Marriage, which is the first book that I've written, but it's not as comprehensive. I would go with Breaking the Cycle. With that, I'll bid you adieu. Blessings to you, blessings to your wife, blessings to your family. And remember, marriage is about happiness and love. If you're not achieving those, it's on you. And you can do something about it. Okay, take care.